And welcome to Central Valley Talk COVID edition. I'm learning to download podcasts. So I touched it, I downloaded the app, and now I'm going to download. You guys, this is live on TV. Let's bring in our guest so he can watch me do it. By the way, you can see we're 6 or 8 feet apart, so I'm going to take my mask off and try not to spit on our guest, James Hutchins, who has a podcast called The Monster's Lair. And he's talking me through this process. So I'm going to touch it and have your podcast.
There
you have 5 stars. Is that good, huh?
I'll take it.
Oh, now I need to subscribe, I see.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Subscribe.
Hit subscribe. The Monsters Lair podcast. And it says I got it. So
there you go.
I got season 1. Is that how many seasons are there?
There you go. You're all caught up.
That's the first season.
First season of the show is in the works.
Okay. And I see, are each of these a different episode?
Correct.
Okay, so it goes, the newest is first, June, and July, and then it started way back in March.
Yep.
Okay, good. Hey, I'm a podcast listener now, and we've got a real podcaster on our show, James Hutchins, The Monsters Lair. Tell us about your podcast. What do you talk about on it?
Well, first and foremost, I appreciate you calling me a real podcaster because I couldn't be any more amateur than I am.
Oh, really?
But, yeah, our podcast, we deal with all subjects relating to paranormal.
Okay.
So whether it's ghosts, alien encounters, could be demonic activity, possessions, things of that nature. Could just be weird synchronicities that happen in our lives. A lot of people have deja vu.
Yeah.
A lot of people during this COVID thing right now have been reporting having extremely vivid dreams.
Yeah.
And what is the inner workings and what is the psychology and things there behind that, or is it something more that we don't quite know about yet?
And we just had a guest on called the Cowgirl Shaman, and she says we're all intuitive, and we can learn that. Do you find that?
It's interesting. I'm having a weird synchronicity in my life right now where I've been in contact lately with a lot of people that claim to be mediums or psychics or psychic healers and people like that would have never came up before, but for whatever reason the last couple of weeks I just keep getting looped back around into conversations with these types of people. And it's I've kind of learned over the years, if there's a synchronicity going on, don't shy away from it, kind of lean into it a little bit and see what happens.
Walk toward it.
So I've been having a lot of conversations with these what they call empathic mediums, people that say that they can see auras in people and maybe kind of judge your character just by your aura. And they've been kind of teaching me a little bit about how the inner workings of that thing works. So that's been interesting. And I think the human brain is a powerful thing, and I don't think we have quite tapped all the way into what it's capable of. And I think these people that are psychics or mediums or they have supernatural abilities, maybe they're tapped into it a little bit more than we are.
Oh, yeah, the brain, I think we don't understand the brain, and there's a lot of things that we might think it can't do that it actually can. So.
Absolutely.
But I'm more interested in monsters and hauntings and aliens and stuff like that. And do you talk to people on your show? You have guests to talk about it? People who've had encounters?
I try to have guests as much as possible. Some shows we don't. I have a co-host that just recently was able to come and do a show with me. Not until like our 13th episode was I finally able to have a co-host. But, if anyone out there is open and would like to be on the show, we're definitely open to having guests at any time.
Especially if you have an experience.
Right.
And can tell us about an experience or something that you've featured on your show.
I wanted to start my show off with our first episode doing a subject on sleep paralysis. A lot of people claim to have sleep paralysis. It's a worldwide phenomenon, and the phenomenon that a lot of people have is similar no matter what their religious beliefs, if they believe in aliens or not. They all report a very similar situation happening in their sleep. About a dark, shadowy entity that maybe climbs on their chest. They feel like they can't breathe, they can't move. And once
independently, they've described this.
Exactly. So. There's even a case in the 70s of a whole group of Hmong migrants that came to the U.S. Yeah. A lot of them believed in an entity called the Sog Som, which was a sleep demon, for lack of a better term. But that even contributed to them being so afraid of it that a lot of them died from the fear in their
Fear
sleep
of it, wow.
of experiencing this entity.
And if you're not from Fresno, Hmong are from Laos, the mountains of Laos, and many migrated to the Fresno area when? In the
It would have been 60s, 70s, around the Vietnam era.
Okay.
And then, the tons of skirmishes and things that led
Yeah.
to them
Yeah, and
evacuating after the fact.
And tens of thousands of Hmong are here in the San Joaquin Valley now. So incredible. So sleep paralysis. Are there hauntings around the Fresno area?
There's a lot of rumors. I couldn't tell you for 100% fact that we have ghosts here, but like I had mentioned last month when I was on the show, we have a lot of great locations around the valley. Here in the Tower District, you have a lot of old architecture.
Yeah.
We have great homes like the Mukes home downtown. We have the Kearney Mansion out in Kearney Park. A lot of those have a lot of stories, a lot of rumors around them.
Yeah.
I haven't personally had the opportunity to investigate them myself, but maybe if any of those folks that run those places would like to have us, or maybe have us in to do a show on those subjects.
If
I
you've
would be
had an
honored.
experience, this is the place to talk about it. James Hutchins, the Monsters Lair podcast. If you've seen something, don't keep it to yourself. Let's get it out there. I want to hear about it. Now, what I want to do is I want to meet an alien. So has there been any encounters around?
Around Fresno or the Central Valley, I have not heard too many stories. I know we have the infamous Fresno night crawlers that some people claim to be an alien entity that they've seen and they've
What are
captured
those,
on
the night
video.
crawlers? They do capture some.
Yeah, it's a strange entity that they've captured video of at a home here in Fresno, and it kind of looks like a walking pair of white glowing pajama pants. And they had this video capture where it just walked across the lawn. There was about 2 or 3 entities, and that kind of became a cultural thing because a lot of people were interested in that in a fun way. They started making merchandise and things like that.
Oh, fun.
There was actually a show called Fact or Faked that was on TV that came through and did an investigation, and they couldn't even determine whether it was real or not. But it's a fun story to tell locally, and a lot of people got behind that. So,
Well, when we go to sleep and it's dark out, there's a whole thing going on out there.
right.
I just one day got up in the middle of the night and there's all these raccoons all over my property. I thought, raccoons? There's no raccoons in the valley, in the cities here, but there's a lot of things that go on out there that we
Right.
don't know. So, now, when is your podcast on a set time every week or every month?
We have a set schedule for releasing episodes. Those episodes go out on Monday at midnight.
Okay.
But we don't do the show live or anything like that. It's all
So
pre-recorded.
every Monday, pretty much.
But every Monday you will get a new episode at
So if you're the
midnight.
newest one, if you stay up to midnight, you could see it then. But the newest one, maybe watch every Tuesday and
Right.
set a time.
And we're in our first season now. We're going up to 20 episodes. We're currently doing episode 14. So
Okay. Now it's audio.
it is audio. We do some work on Instagram where we post up photos or stories pertaining to the subjects that we're
Kind of tie
discussing.
it together, get some
Yeah,
photos.
and kind of show some behind the scenes things as well.
Well, I'm always looking for something to do at my gym. I have the headphones, and I don't listen to a lot of loud, crazy music that comes
Right.
out these days. So I'll listen to your podcast. That's what
I
I'll do.
would
He
appreciate
was here
it.
about a month ago, and I didn't even give him the courtesy of listening to his podcast. But he showed me how to get a podcast and how to listen to one. So now I'll be able to be my first podcast, The Monsters Lair.
Yeah, check us out while you're at the gym. Listen to Alien Abductions while getting that pump.
Now tell us about. You'd go to Anchor.fm.
Correct. Anchor.fm is a wonderful hosting service for
Okay.
our podcast. It's basically our main hub, our website. If you go to Anchor.fm/The Monsters Lair, you can find links to all the services that we stream to there. You can read a bio about our show, what we discuss. You can learn about the host, myself, and my co-host, Tom the Nightmare, as we call him, or Tom Cunningham. And also there's links to leave voice messages. So if you'd like to leave a plug for our show and just say, hey, my name is so-and-so and I'm listening to The Monsters Lair, we'll actually keep that recording.
Nice.
We'll put it into the recording of our show, and you can hear yourself in our
That'd be fun.
episodes.
Now, I'm going to tell you guys, if you don't know how to do podcasts, I have my iPhone. I just went to a little thing called Podcast. It comes with the phone. tapped it, and then there's a little search like there is in every kind of program, and I typed The Monsters Lair. Monsters with an S on the end. The has to go before it. The Monsters Lair, and it's the number one thing that popped up. So
There you go. Super simple.
All these years I've been avoiding podcasts because they're so hard to get. They're not that hard, are they?
Not in my experience since I've started in March. I think what it is the podcast market is becoming very saturated. A lot of people are going to that medium because of all the things that it offers. It's uncensored, it's unfettered.
Right.
You can do it at your own casual time. You don't have to be on a set schedule of when to release things.
Okay.
If you have an original idea, it's a great medium to get that idea out there and get it heard, right away.
I like that people go listen to it when they want.
Right.
You post it, but I like that you keep a schedule in posting, but people don't have to if they're doing a podcast.
No, absolutely not.
I like that you do the schedule, and then it's easy to get to. Now tell us how to get to your Instagram.
The Instagram is the Monsters Lair Official.
Okay.
So if you just go to Instagram and search even the Monsters Lair or the Monsters Lair Official, it'll pop right
You're going
up.
to find it. Okay. There's the website. All right. What else do you want our viewers to know before we're out of time?
If you guys have any stories, if you'd like to come on the show and tell your ghost story, or even if it's not a ghost story, if, like I said, you're one of those wonderful folks that has a supernatural ability like mediumship or psychic abilities and you'd like to come on the show and talk about it, the goal of our show is not to make judgments on folks that have paranormal experiences. We just want the stories out there, and we want people to be able to tell a good story and share, their experiences and what they're going through.
I love a good story. So, of course, now I'm interested in aliens, and I want to hear these stories. And if you have a story, this is the place, the Monsters Lair podcast. And thanks for James Hutchins. Is it J.D. Hutchins on the podcast?
I go by many nicknames.
Okay.
The Monster, the Trailer Park Monster, JD, which are my first and middle initials, or James.
All right, James.
Any of those I'll go by.
Just remember the Monsters Lair. Look for it on Instagram. Look for it. Just Google the Monsters Lair. You're going to find him sooner or later. If you have trouble finding it, call me because I'm an expert on getting podcasts on my phone now, and I'll tell you how to do it. We'll be back with more Central Valley Talk right after this.
If this is your first time joining us, this is your first time coming into the Monsters Lair, you've picked one hell of a show to start. Because in this episode, we're discussing a topic that we haven't covered yet. We're discussing a side of paranormal study that we haven't dove into the depths of so far this season, so far in the existence of the show. So what topic is it, you may be wondering? In this episode, we will be discussing alien abduction cases. We're going to study and tell you about the most in-depth investigations done around some of the most famous abduction cases. And we're going to start that with the case that started them all, the Barney and Betty Hill abduction case, and go from there. We're also going to discuss some other organizations surrounding UFO activity, maybe some conspiracies, and we're going to discuss and debate if we here on Earth are alone in the universe. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive on down into the depths of the Monsters Lair and kick off this episode on alien abductions.